them to parts of what we're approving tonight, or we just move on. For those that are here, they can take it up themselves if they wish at that point. So the first one is, and I was going to ask this of our professional staff, is can we make a recommendation for trash and restrooms facilities? You had just indicated you can. So let's throw that on the table first thing. What does the commission feel about requiring a trash service?
I would say it's a great idea, except this application does not conform with city code. If it did conform with the code, then yes, I think that there should be trash and bathrooms.
Okay.
I think there should be provisions for trash collection and a trash storage. I don't mean overflowing dumpsters visible to the neighbourhood. I'm talking about a trash room. I think that's really important, that trash not be stored on the site at any time where it's visible. So there is a place for the tenants to throw away garbage, but it's not a dumpster that's out in the yard that's visible. And I think there should be a bathroom.
Okay.
If the city council feels that a dumpster is acceptable to them, then I believe we have something in our zoning ordinance about screening of dumpsters. Is that, I'll just ask city staff, that's correct. We have a trash enclosure requirement.
Correct.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have to be fully enclosed. It could just be screened on three sides.
Well, it would need a gate. It does have to be fully
Oh,
enclosed, so it
okay,
would
but
need-
not on the top.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chair and members, I just would, just as far as thinking through this, that also means, just for the neighbors, that's a garbage truck coming in, backing up with a porta potty, there's the smells that go along with the porta potty, so those are other conditions that would be created by adding those as well.
I know, but I think that my personal feeling is that the accumulation of garbage is just, it's going to happen. And
Well,
have to get rid of
the lease, if the gentleman is telling us everything, the lease does not give the availability of restrooms and garbage. Whatever they bring in, they gotta take out. If not, the lease is written that, you know what I'm saying? If we start giving all of these facilities, we're turning this into a destination more than just a drop-off and a pickup kind of deal,
And my
in my mind.
experience, I understand that, Dean, but in my experience living here in the city, in the city of Corcoran, is that we become a destination for dumping.
I'm
no matter what.
picking up trash in my ditches
Absolutely, I'm
between
picking up
30 and
on-
10 every day.
Yeah, we've taken pets to the Humane Society.
me
I mean,
too.
it's happening. So one could say that you're condoning it, and one could say that you're controlling it.
Yeah.
And I'm from the control standpoint, because I think it's going to happen.
Good point.
But I haven't run this kind of business. I've just. picked up-
I'm intrigued on how this works, and I'd love to know more about these other places. If there's no restroom, there's no dumpsters, I don't want any added traffic into here, any added noise than just dropping off. I feel it's hard to believe that it
Yeah.
is
I know.
able to happen that way.
I know, the beeping
And
truck.
especially being off the road and off the beaten path.
I just feel like people could dump stuff and no one's going to see them and they're going to get away with it.
Right.
I don't trust it. So that's my thought.
Well, I would agree. The honor system
Boy, I wish it would.
is noble,
Yeah.
but, and I think that was brought up with the storage facility right down the road. You'll find vagrants that will live there. There is certain crime to facilities that aren't fully protected, and there is garbage, and even to the applicants' own admission, they put a bathroom in at their Rockford facility, and it got used. The idea that no one is ever going to go there and have to go to the bathroom, I think is not realistic. And that they'll get in their,
Especially as
and that
far
they'll
as-
get in their car and go to the, go down to the, up to the convenience store at 19 and 55, I think is not realistic. I see them running around the corner to the bush. They had to close that bathroom, or they, because it got too dirty. People don't pick up after themselves,
Mr.
so,
Chair?
yes.
I don't disagree with anything you're saying, but if we could address these conditions,
well-
after 9 o'clock, we have more business to do yet, too.
Okay. So what are we on the trash and the bathroom? No?
Yes.
Not at it?
If I'm out of line, let me know. I'd rather make a motion to deny this thing and see if we even have to talk about these resolutions and these ordinances and those kind of things. The feeling on the commission, do we agree taking this through, or should we just say no to this? It's a great idea, but it's not the appropriate time. Is there a way to do that up front before we work on the resolutions and such, Mr. Chair?
Okay, so, is there any part of these, resolutions that you would support as they are drafted? No. I mean, we've done this before. It's like, we can support this, but we can't support that resolution.
And that's why I'm bringing it up initially of,
Mr. Chair, so Kendra, you want to walk through how
Yeah.
that would happen if the commission chose to recommend denial?
Yes, as, you have limited discretion in the rezoning and the preliminary plat, the site plan and the CUP, but you have a lot of discretion in the variances. So if you find that the variance standards are not met, there are variances required in order to plat the property. So you should deny the variances, recommend denial of the variances, and then you would deny the other applications because you cannot plat the property without a variance, you cannot approve the site plan without variances. So you would find that there's no practical difficulties for the variance, and you would recommend denial that way. You really have no standing for
Right.
denying the rezoning. It's consistent with the underlying land use. But I think if your feeling is you want to deny that, go ahead and I'll talk with the city attorney before the council. You can go ahead and recommend that, but you need to provide findings of fact for the 4 variances that you're denying, just in general, and then we can draft something up to share with the council. This isn't allowed use in this district, but there are setback variances and the lot variances tied to the plat.
Okay, so you'd be talking about item D, resolution approving the variance?
Yes, yes.
But we could approve the zoning map and the rezoning.
You could, but what's the point?
Because it can't go ahead.
So if we go and take a vote on Resolution D, the variance, if that is to disapprove, then everything would be, then we wouldn't take a vote on everything else.
Yeah, then you would recommend denial of the rest because you can't be accomplished without the variances. So you would provide, why they don't have a practical difficulty for the lot width and lot size requirements for the Horseshoe Bend property in the urban reserve district, which is reducing the nonconformity, and why the existing condition for lot width on the I-1, they don't have a practical difficulty, in the front setback on the I-1 district, and then the municipal services, that they should just wait till after the 2028 services are available.
Okay, so approving variances for the properties located at 2240 State Highway 55 and 6315 Horseshoe Bend Drive. Is that basically it?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
And so you should, the whereases are fine, and the now therefores, the requested variances are denied based on the fact that they're, whatever you think the findings of fact for not meeting the variance are.
Okay, but without going through and making changes at this point, we could accept a motion and a second to take a vote on it.
Yes, the motioner, Commissioner Van Camp, if you wish to make a motion to deny the variances, you should provide findings, just generally your idea about why you don't think the variance standards have been met. I can wordsmith it. If we get a second, then we can vote on it. If it passes, I'll wordsmith it before the meeting.
Okay, but what if there's 3-2 support to recommend approval?
Then someone should make a motion to recommend approval.
So that's why I say maybe we should go that way first, and if it fails,
Yep.
then we amend this variance without going through that.
Yes, Mr. Chair, you certainly could start with the order that's in the staff report. You could start with the zoning map amendment and findings of fact for rezoning. You can recommend approval of that. And then you get to the site plan and CUP. The problem is you don't have a lot of discretion there, so you want to move next to D. So maybe you want to start with the resolution approving the variances. Somebody should move to approve those and see where that goes.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the variances, Ruth.
Okay,
Second.
you'll second? Okay. So, and that is unamended, correct?
The variances,
Yes.
yes, but I do want to make the recommendation that we had earlier about the bathroom and that, but that doesn't,
That's a
that is
different
not, that
resolution.
is not part
Nope,
of the
this
variance.
is just the 4 variances.
So
Yep.
yes, I believe that the findings do support for the variances.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, Mr. Chair.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the variances, say aye. Aye.
I,
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay. So it fails. The motion fails. Okay. So, do you want us to amend the variance?
I don't think you're going to be able to do that tonight.
Okay.
I think you should make a motion and say why you think whoever doesn't believe they meet the variance standard should make a motion with generally why you think the 5 variance standards in the ordinance have not been met. Those are in the staff report on page, starting on the bottom of page 12 and going into 13. You could use those 5 criteria and say why those variances aren't met and make a motion.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Kendra, where do I start again?
Yeah, on the bottom of page 12, there's 5 conditions. So in order to approve a variance, an applicant must show that there are practical difficulties in complying with the
Right.
ordinance, that their conditions are unique to the parcel of land and not created by the landowner, that the granting of the variance will not alter the essential character of the locality, that the proposed variance would be in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the ordinance, and the variance is consistent with the comprehensive plan. And so you should just say, you know, I do not believe that the variance for the lot width standards on Lot 2, the Urban Reserve District, the lot width standards on Lot 1, the setback standards at Lot 1, and the municipal services standards are met, and here's why. And I'm not prepared to provide any myself. This is coming out of the blue. I sometimes when I think there's a reason to deny, I'll give you some guidance, but this is not, I'm not prepared to offer you any suggestions. So you just got to tell me why you think the variance standards haven't been met, and we can smooth it out before the council meeting.
So the first one is variance for lot size with standards in the UR district for proposed lot. I gotta get to the right page here. The first one is lot 2.
Yep,
And this would be lessening the non-conformity?
Yes, why making that lot less non-conforming doesn't meet the variance standards?
I have a question. Is there some reason why the commissioner needs to respond tonight versus collecting his thoughts and drafting a letter to you? I don't see any urgency to explain reasoning when there's quite some time before the city council meeting.
I think the reason would be primarily for the public record.
Yeah,
We can't-
I'm okay with it. I wanna,
I just need you to give me something to make a motion on.
you've
and-
crafted many things for us, and I appreciate it very much.
So we want to
The
take a
reason
vote
it's,
tonight.
the reason it's non-conforming right now is because it's been this way, everything has been done. It was before the ordinance was written out here on this property, or we're just wanting to get rid of his chicken coops.
The
I mean,
reason it's
I-
non-conforming is because the lot is 1.64 acres where the ordinance requires a 20-acre lot size. He was a conforming lot when the lot was created, I think, in the 70s.
Okay,
It's no longer conforming because of the new zoning district. So it's too small today. It was fine when it was created, now it's too small. We want to make it bigger. So
if there was no application in front of us, we would not be trying to redo this. We would not be doing a variance or anything, we would just let it continue to be non-conforming.
let's start with an easier
from-
one. I think we can do it this
All right.
way. The variance for municipal services. There is no practical you might say, I recommend denial of the variance from the municipal services requirement. There is no practical difficulty. He's in a later phase. He should just wait till the sewer and water come. It's
Exactly
just
what I want to
economic.
say. Exactly what I
And
want
then
to say.
as a result, the other applications are null and void. That is maybe one way you could approach it.
And you took the words out of my mouth, Kendra. I appreciate it. While I understand the direction and what's wanted, I'm very much, I love the idea of what this would do and the border it would be for the residential properties to the north. It's premature, it's whatever you said.
Yep, premature
Thank you.
development. Do we have a second on that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, so are we taking another vote on the approving variances or we're disapproving
Now,
variance?
your motion on the table is to move to deny the only motion is to move to deny the variance for the municipal services waiver, and then there'll be a motion after this. But if this motion passes, I'll walk you through your next step.
Okay. All right, we have a second to deny this variance number 5.
Mr. Lanterman seconded already.
That's what I said.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were asking for one, I apologize.
No, we have a motion and a second. All right, all those in favor of denying the variance based on item 5, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay.
Nay.
Okay, so you have denied the variance to allow this lot to develop without sewer and water, or you've recommended denial. Let me be clear, this is a recommendation of the council. You've recommended denial. As a result, the rest of the items cannot go forward. So you could, I think it would be clean to say, we recommend denial of the rezoning, site plan, CUP, preliminary plat, and 3 remaining variances based on the finding that they cannot proceed without the first variance.
I just said that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's why we
Motion by-
pay her and we don't get paid. She can read, she can read my
So this is
mind.
another vote then on the approving variances or denying,
Denying.
denial of the variances for the properties,
This is denying the variances, the rezoning, the site plan, the CUP, and the plat.
the whole 9 yards?
Yep.
Okay.
Commissioner Varenkamp said all of that. Just to go on record. Thank you.
All right, do we have a motion to deny, to recommend denial to the city council of A, B, C, D, and E?
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
I'll second Schulak.
okay. All those in favor of recommending denial, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Okay. Deny is approved. 3, 2. Okay, so what happens now? This goes to the city council, and they could still approve
That's right. The
as
city,
presented by staff report.
yep, the city council will review this on the August 26th meeting, and they will get the planning commission recommendation and the staff recommendation as a second option.
And who is on the 26th? I am. Okay. And it might be helpful if one of you gentlemen could also be in attendance,
I'll
in
be
case there's
there.
any questions.
Absolutely be there.
Okay,
And Mr. Chair, just if I could speak one more time.
sure.
For the landowners, property owners in the residential area to the north of this whole section, all the way over to 19, things are changing. Stay up, contact city staff, our planners. They'll give you those plans. They've been plans for a long time. Again, my beliefs and thoughts are based off of city water, city sewer there. This, in my mind, is premature. So next time I see you, it's like, yeah, we understand. I don't want any surprises. You got it 3 or 4 days before we got this thing. So thank you guys for your input tonight.
These meetings last so long.
You can stick,
Versus what you got.
you can stick around for a little longer. Personal invite.
I think when I was a councilman, we had folding chairs.
That's punishment.
All right, everybody, to keep things moving along then, does anybody need a break?
This should be short.
This should be short. Okay. Let us move on to item 6C, public hearing. Consider amendment to section 1030.020 of the zoning ordinance regarding accessory structures. And the staff report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Short staff report, we are proposing an amendment to the accessory buildings section of the ordinance 1030.020 to allow properties to request a CUP to exceed sidewall height regardless of lot size. This was the discussion in 2011 when the ordinance was amended. At the June 3rd meeting, the commission reviewed a request for CUPs to allow that. The Planning Commission did recommend approval, but at the meeting, Commissioner Lanterman stated that the code prohibited such, given the language that was in the code. We said we'd review it with the city attorney. We did that, and we presented the issue at the June 24th council meeting, where we also presented proposed language changes. We do agree that the language was contradictory to the intent of the amendment in 2011, and so we are recommending changes. The council did discuss it that night and also had a conversation about other amendments to the code that they might like to see, but did direct staff to focus on correcting this item only at this time, as they are trying to prioritize a number of different ordinance amendments. So the change to the ordinance is quite minor, actually, deleting some language in section G and H that was conflicting with the language in subdivision 5. The council directed staff to hold a public hearing tonight, and we do recommend approval of the ordinance amendment and the resolution approving findings of fact for those edits. It is a public hearing. We did not receive any comments on this item.
Okay, thank you. At this point, we'll open up for the public hearing. Are you here for this public hearing? No?
Just for fun at this point. For those,
Is there anyone online?
for those two left online who are not either the mayor or Councilmember Nichols, if you'd like to comment, please use the raise hand function. No one at this time, Mr. Chair.
Waldo.
All right, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Aaron Camp.
All right, all those in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, public hearing is now closed. All right, commission discussion and recommendation. I think as she had mentioned, for those, and I know Commissioner Lanterman, when we gave our annual report, our goals and objectives for this upcoming year, I included also some, would like to consider some changes to this specific section of the zoning ordinance, and that was specifically with regard to accessory buildings on 10 or more acres of land that were required to be just for agricultural purposes only. I'd like to see that particular portion, and in this, that would be item H4. I talked with Kendra about it yesterday, and even though that was on our list, and I'd like to see that addressed, it's not proper, I don't think, at this point to include that in this. The focus of this is entirely to try to get this glitch that we had with the wall height on anything less than 10 acres. So just let it be noted in the record that when fuller, a more thorough review of this comes in, again, that's something I'd like to see addressed. So that's all I have for this. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. State law provides, I believe, that the Planning Commission, the City Council, or an applicant can ask for the city's code to be amended. I question procedurally whether it is appropriate for the city staff to have, of its own accord, petition to amend when there is an active application. I don't think it's unlawful, I just think that the optics of it look like the city is advocating for this applicant. I would not expect rules to be rewritten for me, especially if I did not ask for them to be rewritten. Now, believe me, in substance, I am all for making our code simpler, easier to understand, and most importantly, consistent. So I do not have an issue with the amendment in its form. I only want to get on the record that I think the procedure here seems unfair to the residents who voice concerns about this application. So, thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Isn't it not true that the applicant is still going to have to come before this body, this commission again, to get approval of his barn
No,
after this takes part?
no, you recommended approval pending the city attorney's review of the code. So it will go to the city council if this ordinance amendment is passed by the city council.
Okay, and once it's passed by the city council, then retroactively, Mr. Dornsbach will, with the submission of the required information and details that were part of his original application,
His
he'll
app-
be issued a building permit?
Yes, his application is still active.
Yes.
And it was forwarded from this body with a recommendation of approval with also the caveat that we review it with the city attorney, which we did, and brought to the council and said, yes, there is a concern, and the council said, well, don't bring the Dornsbach application forward, let's make changes to the zoning ordinance, which is what's in front of you tonight. This will go to the council on the 26th. If they pass that, then they can act one way or the other, regardless of what they do with this, then they can act on the Dornsbach application.
Okay, so he still has to go, he won't come before this
He
commission
won't come
again?
back to you, no.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Brad.
Commissioner Lenterman's point, that's why we went to the council on June 24th and got direction from the city council to make this amendment.
Okay.
But you're correct, we would typically need direction from the council for that.
Okay, any other questions or discussion?
Sure. Why can't we change 4?
Well, I think because there wasn't really given any, staff did not talk about.
Any direction about that
Yeah,
specific?
I mean, there might be
Okay.
some things that, unforeseen, other than just simply striking it. It should probably go through a more formal review. And I think that would be fair.
I'm all about eliminating as much waste, but
Yeah.
if that's the case,
And
we
my
can come back
understanding
and
is,
revisit it.
yeah, and my understanding is the city council does want a more thorough review of this entire section.
Right, and just for the commission, so we know, the draft 2022 budget, which will go in front of the council next week for the first look, actually will recommend including a 20-hour week part-time administrative assistant for the planning department, if you can call it that much. And what that would happen is that would really free up a lot of time for Natalie, as right now she has to do publications and all the paperwork that goes along, minutes and everything else. So freeing up essentially 20 hours of her time to really focus on.
Dig into the ordinances and the codes and everything.
Updates that need to happen, so.
Cool.
Our goal is to, as much as we thought bringing Natalie on would free that up, we've got just that much more busy. And so we need more help to be able to get past that threshold.
Okay. All right, any other further discussion or questions?
No?
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve amending the ordinance of the text of Title 9 of the Corcoran City Code related to accessory building standards as written.
Mr.
Did I say that right?
Just to clarify, are you moving to adopt both the ordinance amendment and the resolution, which you certainly can do together?
Yes, I'll do them together. Thank you.
Okay,
There is 2. Got it.
all right, do I have a second?
I'll second that one.
All right, all those in favor of recommending approval of the ordinance amendment and the resolution approving findings of facts, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion is passed. Okay, item 7A, planning project update. Anybody have any questions or comments? I have just one thought. I'd like to just find out if it's possible. When we look at some of our biggest developments, and this isn't specific to any one of these, and not, but I'm just curious to know, we have some developments where there has been, a lot of earth moving, changing the landscape. We've seen field mistakes. I'm just wondering, I'm under the assumption that somebody's going out there to make sure. I know that we had some trees that were cut down before. Is somebody going out to verify that this is done? And so if a developer comes seeking changes and amendments, can we get some sort of feel as to how they're doing with compliance of what we've set up in the first place? Or is that just an idea completely out of left field that makes no sense?
No, it makes complete sense, and a couple things. One, we do have, I think, nearly 2 full-time people in Corcoran these days bouncing from project to project to project because there's so much going on. So there is somebody out there, but their big projects can't be everywhere at once, and things do
Yeah.
happen. I can tell you from the staff standpoint, we feel the same way. We would love to, take past mistakes and hold you accountable in the future. What we're stuck with at the staff level and use the commission level is using the rules in front of you. Now, if there's flexibility requested where there's lots of discretion, I think that's very much applicable in my mind for allowing flexibility. So we try to balance that of bringing in, it's not necessarily taking a shot at them, it kind of is. If people come in with flexibilities, we'll kind of talk about past issues. But our goal, for the most part, is to keep you all with here's what's in front of you, the flexibilities that you have. But
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying completely, because we feel the same way at the staff level.
Well, I mean, this is why I asked the question,
Yeah.
you know.
They're asking for forgiveness instead of permission up front is what they're doing.
At times.
And
And at times, it can be a sub of a sub of a sub, but it's still under their approval, so it's on them.
is there a tally going up on mistakes from certain developers or anything like that, and say, what are you gonna, is there something we can say then? What are you gonna do to prevent this from happening in this new development? Do you know what I'm saying? Are we keeping a scorecard related to those mistakes or not?
No.
We need another
No, I mean, we have.
20 hours shut of a person
Well, we
every.
have professional staff who are aware of it. We have
Okay.
weekly development team meetings, so every Wednesday at 10 o'clock, all of our staff gets together and talk about each development, what's going on where. And then ideally, what we do is tighten up our approvals. So next time, we'll add a condition of this, because last time we
Got it.
didn't do that. So our scorecard really is tightening up our development contracts and our resolutions, so it doesn't happen again.
Gotcha, cool.
And on that same topic, is there one number that people, citizens, residents can call if they do have complaints about construction or something? For example, I think the latest newsletter from Corcoran stated that Rush Creek Reserve was going to keep their time of operation between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., and it's oftentimes gone beyond 8 o'clock at night. And I don't know if that's something that I can tell other neighbors that,
Call City Hall.
They're
Staff drivers,
starting,
Leave a
there's-
message. I can tell you that information has not gotten to City Hall.
they're starting over there before 6 a.m. also.
And no one's said anything to City Hall too, so
Okay.
yes, we need to know that so we can enforce it.
okay. Thank you, sir.
You know, maybe one solution would be to park that great big community service van and welcome them all to a city,
There you go.
event. And, maybe that's one way to let them know that the city's around. So, just a thought, great big van just sitting there, may as well use it.
Yeah, I mean,
Send a message.
actionable complaints are still the best.
Oh, of course.
The best option.
Absolutely.
How come item 7 isn't coming before the commission?
PUD amendment?
PUD amendments only go to the council. That's in our code. That did go to council last month.
I was going to say, I watched that. What happened to Cook Lake Highlands? That did not come before city council on last meeting.
It did not. We thought we would only have 3 council members, and there were items that needed 4. And so she asked to table it to the meeting next week.
Next week, Thursday.
Oh, gosh, that's me. Okay. Can I attend remotely, or must I?
Yep.
Okay.
So amending a PUD just goes back to the city council?
Minor modifications go back to the city council, and minor modifications are defined under the code.
Okay.
Just generally, it's a 10% rule, and so these qualified for the minor PUD modification and went to the council.
Okay.
But
And
doesn't it-
10% of what?
Well, I don't have the code open in front of me, but it's just generally a 10% rule. So generally, for example, if I have a 50,000 square foot building and I want to put a 4,500 square foot addition on it, I can do that with a minor amendment. It
Okay.
has to go to the council still. Can't be
Okay.
administratively approved by staff, but it can go to the council.
Right.
It's not a full amendment. A major amendment does come back through the planning.
And remanding that back to council, that's in our code?
Yes.
And so what are they actually, They want to modify the PUD approvals to allow garage-forward home design, even for the homes that exceed the percentages of garage on the front elevations.
Can you recall what the votes were? Most items were denied.
I was going to say, I thought that was denied.
Most everything was denied.
Yes.
Would she be rewritten and sent out?
They had a sign request to allow larger temporary real estate signs. That was denied, and now leading to code enforcement for every other development in
Right.
town that's violating it.
Yeah, I heard a big thank you when that came
Bravo.
up. Yeah.
They asked for flexibility on garage-forward design, that was denied. They asked for some architectural changes to our architectural standards to have some flexibility. The bulk of that was denied. There was one modification for this PUD that said, on a front elevation, you need 3 different materials or colors. And we did approve, at least for Lennar, not changing to the code, but allowed a change for Lennar that says shutters and vents can count, of a contrasting color can count as a third material. And so that will be probably an amendment we see come through. They asked, after they got a preliminary plat approval, you can't go to the watershed till you get preliminary plat approval. As a result of the watershed counted one of the large wetlands in the northwest part of the site. They said it was impacted, therefore filled. So they had room that was buildable, so they asked to be able to build 3 lots there. And on the southeast corner, the watershed said there was a larger pond, and so they lost a lot there. So they asked for an increase of 2 lots from 549 lots in the development to 551, and the council did approve that.
So why aren't these wetlands delineated during,
Well, they're
I mean,
delayed.
how do you run over a
It's
wetland
like a
and then,
lot going on.
and then ruin it?
Well, it was approved. It was when the TEP went out for the final mitigation.
Oh, really?
I'm not there, but
What I can
more
do is I can send out the minutes from the council.
That's all right, Brad, I don't.
'Cause I don't have a great recollection, actually. Councilman Nichols is on, I don't know if, Councilman Nichols, if you have anything to add from the discussion.
My recollection was that on the third material, I thought we had struck allowing a contrasting color as counting as a third material. With the wetland, I believe when they went to wetland review with Elm Creek Watershed, they determined that some of the area would not actually be wet enough to count as wetland, and they asked for permission to put lots there instead. There was some spirited debate as to whether that should be allowed. Ultimately, it did carry on a 3-1.
But you only allowed one. You went from 549 to 550, not 551.
No, it went to 551.
Did you? I was here and
I forgot as well.
I was distracted, so. Thank you.
I advocated for it to just be a replacement, but ultimately I believe it went to 551.
So we were supposed to have item 12, Bechtold Farm.
Yeah, what happened
They
to
were
the-
supposed to be scheduled today, but they obviously, that was going to be a public hearing, I assume? Yeah,
they had
public
submitted, and
hearing.
we tentatively thought it was but after reviewing a number of issues with the plat, they are not ready to go. We do have a meeting with them next week to see a new concept, and we'll see when it's ready and complete. We'll send it to you.
Okay, very good, thank you. All right, anybody else with anything? No. Okay.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We
You got a
have,
ways to go yet.
we have
Oh,
item,
Lost on the,
item 7B, reschedule planning commission training. I apologize. I had the fishing bug. I got it once in a rare opportunity to go up someplace on a cancellation. And it came very last minute, so. I assume it was canceled, obviously, because was it because just the me?
Tim and I enjoyed our lunch.
Yeah.
And then we canceled it. So, and council member, or Commissioner Lanterman was online. We're going to send out a survey and try to find another date. It's very difficult to find a date that works. So we're going to send out another, when Natalie's back next week, we'll send out another survey.
Okay. So we don't need to give you a date right now?
No.
Okay. Item 7C, City Council Report. Councilor Nichols.
Hello again, everyone.
Yes, sir. What you got for us?
Thank you very much for your service tonight. I wanted to echo what Dean said at the kickoff on the initial topic tonight. We really do appreciate all of your volunteer service for the city, giving us your opinions and your detailed thoughts on the impacts of these proposals to the city. It's definitely value add for the council to have all of you on this commission vetting everything, in addition to the work that the parks folks do, vetting applications as well. So once again, thank you very much for all of your effort and time that goes into this review. In terms of items that I thought were of interest to you, I would imagine you'd want to hear some color commentary on the Bellwether and Amberley edition. So there was a request for some flexibility on architectural standards that was rejected for the Amberley portion of that development. For the Bellwether portion, we allowed them to operate under the same conditions as we previously approved for the bulk of Bellwether as previously implemented. We had a lot of discussion on this one about the size and configuration of the park. So if you remember, the park in the Bellwether Amberley area is largely surrounded by homes. So we had some discussion as to whether that was suitable, and the size was a bit small, but ultimately it was approved as planned. On the Tavera side, we already had some discussion on that. I would, I guess, raise one item that I don't know that we covered too much in that last discussion. There was a request for a 10-foot by 10-foot sign to be allowed until most of the lots there had sold. We ended up approving a sign, but not nearly as large as was requested. We kept it to the 32 square feet that's currently allowed in code. And that's something that council directed staff to enforce on other developments as well. So there are other signs similar to that that had been erected without a permit, and we need to go back through and make sure that those signs are conforming. There was a lot of good discussion on Three Rivers Park District's proposal for the Diamond Lake Regional Trail Corridor. It's one of the first trails, I believe, that they've got where they will try to accommodate snowmobile trails and snowmobile access parallel to the main paved trail. So that's, I think, a testament to the involvement of the Snowmobile Club and Commissioner Schultz, who advocated for that when they first proposed the trail going through the city. So that was approved, I think, with a really broad base of support in the city. And then lastly, we did have Councilmember Manoj Thomas resign, and we have opened a vacancy. So we're looking for applicants to be appointed until the next midterm election. So that would serve through, I believe that would be December of 2022. So if you know qualified candidates who would be interested, I know that we're actively soliciting applications. If anybody is listening, feel free to submit that to Brad.
Okay. Any questions or discussion for our
Commissioner, Councilmember Nichols. I wanted to thank you guys. I stepped through the corridor conversations with Maple Grove with Three Rivers Park District, and identifying a corridor, give or take a mile east, a mile west. It was great that you guys identified and agreed with a corridor. It's just, I hope everybody understands it's going to take a long time to get that north-south corridor through Corcoran, and understand as development happens, it's a conversation that needs to be made. And I wanted to really give an attaboy to the Three Rivers Park District to dig in as early as they have with this. When we did it in Maple Grove, it was a nightmare to get it through town. But as Maple Grove benefits, you can now travel from Eden Prairie all the way up to Coon Rapids Dam with the Three Rivers Park District corridor or trail, which includes city sidewalks, all of those things. And there's some great things that go on there. And I think this amenity in Corcoran, once it's completed in 20 or 30 years, is going to be pretty nice for whoever lives here at that time. So I wanted to thank you for at least identifying that corridor and giving some direction and understanding that the planning or the parks group is gonna have that, we're gonna have those options to be able to do that instead of park dedication fees, those kind of things. It just gives us a whole bunch of more tools to really make our community even better than any of us planned, so, thank you guys.
Absolutely. But that's a sentiment that was echoed at many of the Night to Unite celebrations that we toured earlier this week. So I had multiple people in multiple parties come up and express how thankful they were that we're starting to get trails into the neighborhoods. And I think once we start to link those together and form a real network, the value is going to really jump out at people who might not have appreciated having that kind of amenity before, given that it's so new to Corcoran. But it's absolutely a major value add and improves the quality of life for everybody.
Very cool. Good job.
All right, great. That's great news. I like the snowmobile part. Absolutely. Okay, any other questions or comments for Councilor Nichols? All right, let's move on then to 7D. Any other business? Okay, item 8, any changes in the liaison calendar? Meredith, you are up next, or on Thursday, next week. I'm up the week after that, and then Commissioner Lanterman.
Yep, I'm good.
Virtual is just fine with your video off. It's just fine.
Great.
Okay, that's one question. Are we expecting that we're going to go to masks only, or that we'll go back to Zoom? I know this is a moving target, day to day, but do you guys have any plans based on what you know today?
No, we don't. We still encourage those who are not vaccinated to mask, and really that's what well, first and foremost, encouraging everyone who can get vaccinated, and those who choose not to or can't to mask up. We have a better environment than we had before. Whether anything like this changes, I don't believe we will. I think we do offer the virtual option, so those who are not comfortable can choose to not be here. Unfortunately, for those voting, we actually would have to declare another emergency to allow votes to be cast virtually.
I see.
So that's where the problem exists with you all, essentially.
Wow.
But we could essentially have nobody else besides the commission in the room. But if that's something you want to discuss, right now there's no plans to change.
Okay.
Numbers are going up.
So, in terms of being the liaison for a meeting, if the commissioner so chooses to stay at home and go on Zoom, again, they're always encouraged to speak up on an issue that came before this commission. Natalie or yourself, whoever is running the Zoom portion, we just raise our hand and we'll get access?
That's a great question. I think what is helpful, since it's hard to watch, is using the raise hand function if you really want to participate. That really gives Jessica for council meetings a good sign that you do want to talk. That is really helpful virtually.
I mean, because they don't always just, hey, do you got anything to say?
No.
We,
Kinda
raise
wait
our
for the-
hand.
You kind of
Yeah.
wait for the back room wave.
Okay, so everybody understand if you want to do this, remotely?
Yep.
Okay.
That's good questions.
Mr. Chair, if I
Yes,
could
sir.
just add one quick comment. Excuse me. I just wanted to mention how proud I am of our law enforcement department here. I'm former law enforcement. My company, we're the crime lab for the Hennepin County Sheriffs. I spend a lot of time with law enforcement. And I'll tell you what, our department carries a lot of weight for a city with only 6,000 people. Okay, our chief has a lot of respect in the Twin Cities. And, in this day and age, we're quick to condemn and point fingers and criticize, and I just think that it was appropriate for me to just go on record, and I'd like to thank the chief. I'd like to thank the entire police department because they bring us a lot of good attention that most people don't even know about. So I'm very proud, to say I live in Corcoran, and I'm very proud of my police department. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, well, sentiment is the same here. Of course, I wouldn't talk to them nearly as much if it weren't for the fact that I was on this commission. When they routinely deliver my packet, I mean, I've sat out in my driveway getting bitten by mosquitoes.
that you don't talk to
Yeah, I know. You know,
What conditions are you talking?
exactly. But yeah, we talk for sometimes 45 minutes at a time.
Same here.
And they're great conversations. They're all good people, and I certainly feel safe and respect everything they do for us as well.
And it's
Yep.
really cool that Zeke is getting back in. That's really neat. We found one of our officers is gonna jump on board, and he delivered 2 packets ago, so that was neat to see, so, cool.
Good.
Well, our chief is a thought leader, and I just wanted to go on
Outstanding.
record that everyone here knows that.
Okay, great, thank you. Well, at this point, item 9, adjournment, I'll take a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I'll make that motion. I made it about an hour ago accidentally, sorry. I didn't mean-
I'll second
I wasn't
it.
trying to be flip, I thought we were done.
That's quite all right. All right, we have a second from Commissioner Barrington.
Barrington.
All right, all those in favor to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Oh,
Yay,
yeah, yeah.
good night.